So, a friend of mine asked yesterday for some tips on avoiding cabin fever when working from home. So, like a lot of people at the moment, the coronavirus has caused folks who aren't used to working remote to start working remote. Um, and I guess that's kind of a difficult question to answer. Like, how do you avoid cabin fever? So I've got kind of five tips, I think, some of which might seem kind of obvious. The first one is to get dressed in the morning. Like it's very easy working remotely to just laze about, basically, even if you're doing work, to be in bed with your laptop and kind of not really put your clothes on. And sometimes that's great; it's a benefit to working from home. But it can, certainly in my experience, it can lead to this feeling of having not really kind of got up and done anything, even if I've actually done a whole day of work. And that multiplied by a couple of days feels a bit like cabin fever. Whereas for me, getting up, having a proper shower, eating breakfast, like not at my desk, and putting shoes on basically as though I was going to work, and kind of sitting at my desk fully dressed, massively helps feel like I'm having a more normal day, and that helped a lot more actually when I started working remotely. Um, Kind of similar to that, my second tip is to go for a walk in the morning, even if it's not very nice weather. Like actually going and doing a commute, even though the commute is from like my front door back to my front door again. A half-hour walk is obviously good for you because it's good for your health, and getting fresh air is good for you. But again, it helps with that like mental thing of feeling like you haven't left your house. If I go and do a morning walk like that, I'll try to go and talk to some people. So there's a couple of coffee shops that when I was doing that every morning, I'd pop into. Um, Same thing goes for the evening. That's my third tip. Like get out in the evening. I found since I've been working remotely that I need to go. I need to do more stuff and schedule more stuff in the evenings. So whether that's going and meeting up with mates, or going and doing sports, if that's what you do, you might need to do more of that stuff after work. I've got a really nice local pub where I know a bunch of people in, so and they stay open quite late. So I tend to go around there even if I'm finishing late because I'm on Canadian time. I go around there for a couple of drinks just to talk to some people in real life. So yeah, tip three: go out in the evening. Um, and then I guess tip four is schedule Zoom calls or Skype calls or whatever you use for video conferencing. Schedule calls that are just for social interaction. One of the things that's really difficult when you're working remotely is those kind of moments where you just have lunch with somebody, or you have a quick cup of tea with somebody at work, or you go for a little walk around the block, or you just lean over the desk and have a 4 minute chat with a person who works opposite you or whatever about something. And without that interaction, it can feel kind of isolating. But you can simulate that in Zoom. I quite regularly do that, where I'll just hit up some of the I know we're working on something similar. We'll just get on a call and we won't really talk about anything. We'll just be there on each other's screens. I've got multiple screens set up, so I'll be working on one and just have some of my colleagues on another screen. And we'll just chat shit as we're working, just like you would in a real office. We also schedule calls for lunches sometimes, where we'll get those of us working in different locations to all get on a video call together, and we'll just all sit and have lunch and chat about shit, basically. But the point is that needs to be intentional, because in an office that happens by accident. When everyone's remote, that has to happen because someone made it happen. And then I guess the fifth tip is an expansion on that. We've had a few times where one of my friends, Bruce, who I work with, he's set up Bruce's virtual bar by basically getting a Zoom call up in the evening for us, and we've all gone and got a glass of wine or a beer. I've got fancy Philips Hue light bulbs, so I've put on a kind of bar-like color vibe going on. And we've all just sat and got pissed together, basically, having a chat about work for a couple of hours. And people across the company, we've shared this link around the company, and people from across the company have kind of chimed in and popped into Bruce's virtual bar for a drink before going off. And that's kind of I don't know, that's the closest replacement as a distributed company that I could come up with for going to the pub on the way home from work with some of your colleagues. So yeah, anyway, that's my anti-cabin fever tips. 1, get dressed. 2, go for a walk in the morning, even if you don't really fancy it. Get out. 3, go out in the evening. Make sure you do some stuff that involves real people. 4, schedule Zoom calls for social stuff. And 5, have a cool Bruce's virtual bar of your own.